right. Welcome. Hi, I'm Jessica Manka, and I'm the host of Passion to Profit Mastermind Coach Showcase. Today, we're featuring successful coaches and their stories of transformation from passionate coach to profitable business owner. Today, I want to welcome our community members, and our special guest is Alum Arjuna George, who is a graduate of the Passion to Profit Mastermind as a founding cohort member. Arjuna is a certified executive coach, and he brings over 2 decades of experience as a leader in the fire service. He's the founder of Silver Arrow Coaching and Consulting and the author of Burnt Around the Edges. His expertise lies in leadership, team building, and organizational behavior with a real passion for stress mastery, which we all can learn from. He specializes in burnout prevention and resilience coaching for high performers. Thank you for joining us, Arjuna.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here and kind of share my experience. You kind of introduced as a professional experienced coach, but I'm still very new. But yeah, I'm loving it for sure. So thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wanted to share with everyone, I usually do at the start of how we know each other. We met through the Royal Roads community, through the wonderful life-changing certified executive coaching program. And do you want to share a little bit more there about how we know each other?
100%, yeah. Yeah, well, it was 2001. I was lucky enough to go through the Royal Roads program, executive coaching program, and I was going through all the bios of all my speakers or not speakers, coaches that I could kind of lend an ear or learn from. And Jessica was one that stood out to me, and I actually sent her a picture a couple of weeks ago that I circled in saying amazing. So I definitely connected with Jessica right off the bat, and we've been friends, colleagues, coaches for a couple of years now. So it's been amazing, and she's really helped me kind of master my own self as a coach, which I think is one of the most important things, is to master yourself. So she really helped lead me through the program, but also kind of helped me build my business as well. So I owe a lot to Jessica and her support, and we just have a real good connection. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much, Arjuna. I love that introduction. And we share a big tipping point in common too, which is what I can't wait to ask you about. It's my turn to ask you some questions about burnout and kind of your starting point. So for everybody who doesn't know Arjuna as well as I do, tell us a little bit about your passion and the reason you started a coaching business.
Well, I would say most of my adult life, I always actually wanted to be a coach. It was always something that I thought that in my current job, I was a fire chief before I became a coach. So in that role, I really truly felt like I was coaching a lot of my firefighters underneath me, my colleagues, but I really truly didn't know exactly what coaching was. So yeah, the whole journey going through leaving the fire service due to burnout really opened up doors of possibility for me to have another encore career. And Royal Roads it was during the pandemic, and it kind of, I wouldn't say fell into my lap, but it definitely, the stars aligned. I was able to take, it's not a cheap program. So there is an investment there, but probably the best experience I've ever had in my life going through the Royal Roads program. And my mission for the coaching was to support people from burning out. I really wanted to have a tone for a holistic approach to coaching. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just the conversation, but we're looking at the whole body as well as the coaching aspect. And I had just fell in love due to my own personal burnout. I fell in love with learning about neuroscience, learning about how the body reacts under stress, learning about how humans interact with each other and just the human behavior aspect to it all. It just fascinated me. And the last 2 years, I've kind of just dug deep into learning about how the body works, mostly under stress. And I was like, well, this is obviously, as a fire chief, I really could have used having somebody in my court to support me through my journey as a fire chief that was really stressful, very low resources, and I just didn't have anyone to kind of bounce off ideas, talk to. I was a lone soldier, is kind of how I look at it. And I could have really benefited from a coach, kind of cheering me on my sideline, supporting me. So I said, well, if I really needed that, I'm sure there's other people out there that could really benefit from that. So that's kind of what speared my interest in supporting people through burnout, resilience, stress mastery with a very holistic approach, for sure.
Yeah, and you're just lighting up talking about it. I mean, burnout is such a hard and heavy subject matter, and just the way you're talking about it, I mean, you're just lighting up and getting a glow of burnout. And I love what's so different about when you talk about burnout is you talk about it in terms of prevention. You talk about it in terms of kind of getting in front of it before it's too late. And I feel like that's such an amazing perspective to have. I know in my own work, people say to me all the time, I don't even know, like, what does it mean to burn out? How do I know I've hit the wall? How would you describe what the warning signs are for burnout for the people that you serve?
Well, capacity, for me, my capacity level was beyond. I couldn't bring in anything into my mind, into my body. I was fully saturated with stress, information, whatever that looked like. I was just overloaded, overwhelmed. And I think that's a big key one, is being overwhelmed by the smallest things that used to be easy to take on, used to be simple for you. And then I think there's also things about that your body. Like, I think burnout is a very somatic challenge that you go through. So aches and pains, headaches, tension headaches, lack of sleep, muscle cramps, low energy, brain fog, all those things are very somatic in the body. And they're all showing you signs, flashing red lights saying, hey, you need to look at this or you are going to burn out. And for me, I unfortunately ignored most of those until I had back to back vasovagal syncopes, which is essentially a fainting spell for no apparent reason. And so my nervous system essentially just was overridden and just said, I'm turning you off, Arjuna. I'm turning you off. You need to take a break. You're shutting off. And boom, there I was, unconscious. That was really the start of my whole transition from fire chief to what I'm doing now, because I knew I had to change something. Maybe it was going back to the fire service, maybe not, but I knew at that point that was a big red stop sign in front of my face, saying something's got to change. Something's got to change.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're so glad you did, and we're so glad that you're on the other side of that now, because I think so many people like see those warning signs and they keep pushing through. They keep trying the same approach, and the warning signs, as you and I both know, they get louder and they get more severe, more significant, from a person's health to a person's well-being and so on. So,
Sure.
so with that, who specifically do you serve?
Well, I think it's important to kind of go back to my original um, audience of who I served. And really, what I was focused on when I first launched my business was fire chiefs and fire officers across North America in mastering stress and becoming more resilient leaders. And what I found over the first year of my business, Silver Arrow, was that industry is not quite ready 100% on board with what coaching is. So about a year into my business, I kind of transitioned a little bit and went more to educating the fire service about what coaching is. And slowly, hopefully, that will turn some gears and the fire service will look at that as being a tool that every leader should have access to more of a general audience of people who are trying to become better people themselves, master their own stress, beat burnout if they have it, or prevent it in the first place, and just become more resilient humans. That's kind of my goal now. So really, it's open up the audience to high performers, those high achievers that really put in their life and soul into their work, and maybe just kind of open some blind spots so there's more to life than work, for one, and how to support them through life balance, which I like to call life harmony versus balance. This is pretty hard to have balance in your life where it's 100% balanced. We're always going to have that give and take. So that's kind of my audience, is those high performers, those high achievers, those ones that give it all, usually perfectionists tendencies, usually, go-getters, lots of balls in the air, lots of projects, which is myself, but help them be successful in that field, but also take care of their own well-being at the same time.
Yeah.
I think that's the most critical part, is you can live a high-performing, high-achieving life, very successful business, if you look at some other components about yourself. And I think we often forget about ourselves, especially when you start an entrepreneur business. Coaching is a high burnout occupation, and entrepreneurship is another high burnout occupation. So for me to jump into that, I'm jumping into it, but I also have a much clearer idea of what burnout looks like, what it feels like in me. So I'm really not doing the full tilt entrepreneurship 24/7, launching my business. I'm taking care of my well-being while I launch my business. And I think that's a big key part, because usually when you're bootstrapping your own business and kind of launching that, you're working around the clock 7 days a week, and you're destined to burn out if that's the case, right? So
Right, right. And you talk about this, and this is so, like, we're in different industries. I grew up in tech, fire service industry, service-based professionals, anyone who's really helping other people. It's so common. I mean, this really spans so many genres of people who, nonprofit sector, people who really have kind of cause and impact and helping others work through building their resilience. I love that, resilience in humans. Wonderful. And is there anything more that you wanted to share about, maybe an insight of what you do with your clients, or what a service looks like for somebody who's maybe thinking that they're starting to go down that burnout path?
sure, yeah, I think, like I said, I look at a very holistic approach. So I don't look at it just what we're talking or thinking about, those biases that we have or whatever like that. But I also look into their sleep, and I support them through trying ways to find better sleep in their lives, their own nutrition. So it's kind of like a life coach slash wellness coach slash leadership coach slash executive coach, kind of bringing that all together into one. So majority of the time, I'm talking about boundaries. I'm talking about self-care routines and habits. I'm talking about nutrition, sleep, um, water, exercise, like all these things. And once those happen, the clients actually see themselves improving as leaders or business leaders or whatever that looks like, because now their body's actually in optimal condition versus being sluggish, being dehydrated, being, brain fatigue, lack of sleep. There's no way you can be a high performer continually for a long duration if you're experiencing all that. That's going to hold you back for sure. So most of my clients that I deal with are, it's roughly around 3 to 6 months that I'm working with them. Most of my clients now are 6 month clients, which I think really sees a transformation in them versus a 3 month one, or even a one-off coaching session. And they're all high performers who have forgot about their own well-being, have thought about everyone else in the world. And this could be single parents, this could be school teachers, this could be first responders, entrepreneurs, and they've all forgot about who they are as a person, their own well-being, and they're just concentrated on either supporting their business or supporting others. And so I just kind of bring that back into their mindset of, like, if you're not working 100% optimally yourself, it's going to be a struggle for a long time. Like, sustainability of your business is going to be a challenge.
And this is so needed. Like, a lot of people, resilience is a pretty big word that some people don't know how to translate, but I'm almost hearing like it's resilience and it's vitality as well. It's just bringing
Yeah,
your
I love
best self
vitality.
to whatever you're in service of, whatever you do for a living.
The
Wonderful.
kind of word, yeah,
Yeah.
the word that always pops that I use all the time is I want to bring you from where you are now to thriving. I want you to
Mhm.
thrive. I want you to thrive as a human, as a parent, as a partner, but also as in your career as well. I want you to thrive, not just survive.
Yes, yes, that's huge. That's a huge shift. So tell us a little bit more about your other parts of your transition from going to you went through Royal Roads, you got your coaching designation. Tell us a little bit more about your transition to a business owner. What did that look like?
Yeah, I truly believe I've always had the mindset of an entrepreneur, but I've never had the opportunity to actually be an entrepreneur. So for my whole working life, 30 plus years, I was always working for somebody, uh, usually in manager roles, but still working for somebody. So switching into that entrepreneurial kind of mindset and everything was a challenge at first. Working from home, setting boundaries about where I'm working from home, what times I'm working from home. Those were definitely challenges because it's so easy to work around the clock when your office is in your own home, right? So in the transition, I actually made a space for me that's just for work. It's not for play. It's not for whatever. It's just strictly work. And that is where I do my podcasting, my writing, my coaching. All that is done out of my new office that I've created. I used to do all my work on the kitchen table, and that's obviously not a healthy place to, it's lots of distractions and it's kind of stressful at the same time. So finding a space to work was very important to me. And then I honestly thought graduating school at Royal Roads, and we talked about it as classmates, that it looked kind of easy to launch your own business and start a coaching business. There was lots of demand out there, good money. People were throwing around numbers from $200 to $500 an hour plus, and we're like, this is easy. But once you jump into it, finding clients, building relationships, that's a challenge. That's a work in itself, let alone the actual mastering how to coach somebody. So there's really two elements, especially as a new coach, you're learning how to coach. You're learning all the ins and outs of performing as the best coach you can. But then also you have to look at all the finance, how to set up your website, how to track calendars, money, how to, balance your finances, advertising. But most of all, what I've been doing over the last couple of years is just building relationships. So really my business, I did not expect to have a lot of clients in the first couple of years. I really put all my eggs and all my energy into just building relationships. And when I was a fire chief, I always thought I had a huge network across the world. But since launching my own business and everything that I'm doing now, my network across the world is like 10, 20x. And all those relationships are starting to come together. Either they're opening doors for someone else or they're actually interested in my services now. So I guess my thought would be don't expect it to happen overnight. That's for sure. This is this is a process that is going to have peaks and valleys, and there'll be times when things are going really good, and there'll be challenging times that you have to push through. And what I found the best way to push through is to get a coach. We should be getting coached just as much as we're coaching other people. So all the challenges that I went through in building my business were usually solved with the support of a coach.
Mm-hmm. And what was like, can you name one specific challenge? Because I think it really helps to talk about like a specific thing when you talked about gaining new clients or keeping them. What's one specific challenge that you can remember having in the beginning?
I would say it's still a challenge is getting clients without being salesy, without being too pushy, without being that annoying person who keeps calling every couple of days. I don't do that. I don't do sales. I'm not a big. I don't enjoy that. I'd rather build a relationship, and if we fit and we sync together, then it's going to happen. If I'm pushy, it's just going to push people away from my services. So being kind of building that relationship versus selling, I think is the key for me that I realized out of that. Because I tried sending out emails, um, didn't work at all. Just crickets after bulk emails going out. Um, People get hundreds of emails a day, and mine was just going straight off into the junk or something like that because it didn't work right off the bat. Maybe after you build relationships, those email campaigns will start to work. But really, you can't get clients without building a relationship. And really, what I found was getting content out there was what helped me build relationships. So, content in the social media world, podcasting, books, articles, magazines, all that helped build that relationship and those connections. So, my number one challenge for sure was finding clients that we connected with and not being salesy, and try and find ways to be genuine, authentic with them, honest with them, and not be that salesy person that I don't enjoy talking to those kind of people either. So if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to do it myself. And my whole journey as a fire chief, I kind of held my cards close to my chest, which is pretty common. But now I'm an open book, and I'll tell you if we're not a good fit as a coach. I'll tell you if I don't think this is going to work out. I'll tell you if I'm overcommitted or whatever that looks like. I'm I'm trying to live my most authentic life that I can right now, and I think that's a key concept as well, is not to be sugarcoating things or promising things that you can't deliver or anything like that. I think that's also key. So that would be my number one, is finding clients who you connect with, who actually are the right fit for your organization. Because really, you don't want to sit and spend half your day coaching somebody who you don't connect with, who you don't align with, who maybe is not ready for coaching, which I found several people. They're like, we spend an hour trying to find someone to talk about, and that's not productive for them or me, right? So maybe they're getting pushed into it. Maybe it's part of their discipline. They have to go get coaching, or maybe it's part of their promotion process. And maybe that's not their idea. They're getting, told to come to coaching, which I don't think is a good fit. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I've mastered the challenge of that challenge, that I'm still having an issue of that, right? And that is something that, as coaches, we're always going to have that issue of a revolving door of new clients. That's just, I think if you're with a client for 5, 10 years, then obviously you're not doing a very good job of supporting them, because they should be able to start working on their own challenges after that, right? Maybe a little check-in, but it shouldn't be a regular thing for 5, 10 years.
Yeah, so 100%. And in coaching, you almost want to coach yourself out of a job, because that means that that person is empowered, that person has the tools to meet the moment and do the things on their own to make lasting change. So many gems in there. So thank you for indulging for the specific challenge, because that I know that resonates with so many of us, of the marketing stuff that's out there, the gurus. It falls in that salesy side of things, and as coaches, it can be really counter to what we stand for and how we operate, how we approach things, to feel that salesy stuff. And I know for me, I can share that I once heard a coach say, share instead of sell. What happens when you share your offer as opposed to sell your offer? And just again, that's very coach language for how we do it different, how we want to build those relationships. So shifting gears, and I want to leave time for questions. Yeah, go ahead, Arjuna.
I was just saying, I'm sure you've experienced this as well, but we, as coaches and getting into this business and our names out there now, we get flooded with emails saying, "Hey, I can find you 50 coaches in a week." Like, I don't want 50 coaches in a week. I don't want 50 clients in a week, because those are just going to be one-offs. Those are going to be non-committal. We get flooded with those emails all the time, and social media is like, "Hey, I can get you, 10 figures in a month, because I can find you 50 new clients in a week." It's like, those are not good clients, unfortunately. So
Absolutely. And I think I just posted to the community about that a few weeks ago that
oh,
you
yeah.
want to 100x my client load. Like that's not coaching then. I don't know how one business can support that in depth. So awesome. So I wanted to shift gears onto your growth, and there's so many places that we can focus on with your success and what you've learned, and just like you just talked about like the writing and the publications and the podcast and so on, plus the coaching, and I know you've done public speaking as well. But really, one thing that a lot of coaches struggle with in the beginning is money mindset. How would you describe the money mindset that a coach needs to be successful?
Well, abundance for sure. So there's definitely that abundant mindset is critical. It's easy to say, not the easiest thing to do, especially when you're launching your own business. I struggled with it as well, of having that mindset of scarcity, where was I going to find my next client? How am I going to pay for my bills? How am I going to pay for all these resources that I'm buying, these platforms, these email marketing? So I struggle with it, not as much as I used to, but it still kind of peeks its head out and saying, you need to start hustling because where's that next client coming from? But I found more success, and it's becoming more of a routine for me to have the mindset that I put out good stuff's going to come to me. And once again, back to building relationships, that's really where it happens, is building relationships, providing content, which can be free content. So that could be blogs, that could be articles, social media, but anything for them to get to know you a bit better as a person, because that's really what coaching is. If they don't know you, they're not going to buy your services, because why would they? So really, it's all about getting to know you as a coach, as a human. So outside of being just a coach, um, but that scarcity mindset, it peeks its head back in once in a while. But I try to maintain that I'm going to put out good stuff, and that will bring in. And the doors that have opened in the last 2 years, I never thought was going to happen to my, I've traveled across North America doing keynotes and workshops and wrote a book. Like I didn't expect that to happen either. But that also helped my coaching business. So it didn't just help me personally to write the book, but it helped the coaching business. And now people flip through it and they're like, oh, I need to talk to this person, because now they know me, they understand me, and they're like, something clicks between you and I. So now I want you as my coach. And if people have no clue who you are and they just hear this name with a CEC next to it or an ACC next to it, they're like, all right, I have another coach out there. Um, so yeah, I would say scarcity mindset probably going to happen when you first launch your career, and just if you're aware of it, that's one key thing, just to be aware of that mindset. And then just know that the more good stuff you put out there, the more abundant things are going to come your way. It's a mindset. So doesn't happen overnight, and it's not just an on-off switch. And there's probably a lot of people don't even understand what an abundant mindset is, or a money mindset, about what that means in general, right? So I think your mastermind and other coaching aspects that you put out there kind of tell people that, because really you don't learn that in school at Roll Roads, that's for sure, or any institution.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that call out. And I'm definitely a proponent of understanding our money mindset. If we have money stories, so for those of you who haven't gone through the program, if you have money stories, those stories are likely showing up in everything you're doing as a business owner. They're showing up in your choices that you're making, the partnerships, the relationships, the way in which you enroll clients. They could show up in all of those things, and they could really be working against you if you have a scarcity mindset, or you are looking at it from a point of lack. So really, really important. How do you
Just going
yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, going on to that, that's where that sleazy salesperson comes into play.
Yes.
When you have that scarcity mindset, you're kind of in a stress response. You're like, I better start getting some clients. I'm going to start calling, cold calling. I'm going to send out emails. I'm going to be sleazy salesman because I'm desperate now. So that is that if you get into that mindset, you're going to start going down that avenue of that sales that we don't enjoy. And so it's just
Yeah.
a hazard that you can see when you get into that scarcity mindset.
Yeah, and just how you describe the abundance mindset is just the exact opposite. It's putting something out there and not being attached to who takes it or doesn't take it. It won't be for everybody and they won't be ready for it, but you're putting out that good energy and that good intention to be in service and to help them with their thriving. Awesome. Well, I want to know, how do you make tough business decisions? You talked about, like, a great example was you talked about when you know that somebody's not a fit for you. So would that be a good example? Maybe we could dial into of what a tough decision looks like for you. How do you do that?
Well, like I said before, tough decisions, I use a coach. So that is how I work myself through those tough decisions, is to get coached on it. Because there's a lot of times that I might be not seeing the real reasons. Maybe I got a gut feeling, but I don't necessarily have facts or a reason or anything like that. So it's usually working with a coach is how I figure out my next steps. I haven't had too many opportunities where I've had to decline people, but I've had tough conversations where I kind of steered them in the direction that this is not the right time for them. So I didn't necessarily say, you're not going to be my client, but I kind of steered them in where they actually really needed to go. And maybe that was therapy, or maybe that was, let's talk in 6 months or a year from now. Some people have a concept of therapy and coaching almost the same. And so once we have our kind of first little meeting, it's pretty clear that maybe, okay, they need to go this way instead of coaching right now. Um, so luckily, I haven't had to say no to too many people that I didn't click with. It was more along the lines of this was not the right time for them. I don't want to waste their money. I don't want to waste their time. And also, it's just not good for business building if people are not having good results from the coaching either, right? So if people are walking away because they're not ready to get coached, they're going to tell 10 friends that it was all right, didn't really get too much out of it. And that's going to start plummeting your network, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You want the opposite. You want those positive news stories instead of, it was amazing. I spent 30 minutes and I learned this about myself. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to know too, like, when times have been tough, what's the one thing that really keeps you going forward in your business and in your growth?
Hmm. I think for me, the things that keep me going is innovation. So when times are tough, I usually try something new. When times are tough and I'm challenged, I'll test pilot something. I'll play with a different strategy. Like recently, I put out a little strategy about 23-minute coaching for free. So it was a bonus to anyone who wanted to try what coaching was. And 23 is my favorite number. So I said, okay, I'm going to stick with 23-minute coaching. And I had clients that came in through that, did the 23-minute coaching, and not quite 50% of them, a little bit less than 50% are now clients. But I got the exposure out there, tested something, and maybe it worked, maybe it did, maybe I'll try it again some other time, but it definitely didn't take off. And so I think throwing a lot of stuff at the wall, see what sticks, helps me get out of those tough challenge times, and just kind of just playing with things. And I'm risk taking, um, trying to introduce some fun into what you're doing as well to make those challenges kind of inspiring versus kind of depressing. And just just coaching lots, getting coached yourself. Yeah, those are all ways that I found, and just keeping a very optimistic mindset, that abundant mindset. Most of the comments I get back is that my story, my transition, my transformation is inspirational to people because they're like, I've seen people are burnt out and they're not doing what you're doing. They're like sitting on the couch. They are, not high performing anymore. They once were and not anymore. So that whenever I think about challenging times, I think about, wow, I am making a difference, even if it's one person. I am making a difference, and that changes my mindset pretty fast. So
It's pretty motivating to think when just since I've known you, all the seeds that you've planted, all of those relationships, all those offers to help, all those the content, all of the things that you put out there in such an amazing way, how many seeds you've planted and those seeds will grow and those seeds will come back to you. I know they already have. Okay, last question, and then we're going to go into our speed round. Is there a success habit that you practice that helps keep your business profitable?
well, going back to my holistic style of coaching is taking care of myself. That is what is keeping my business going. I take self-care, my own wellness as number one. It's even above my business. So I don't let my business interfere with my own well-being, my stress and all that. I make sure that well-being is taken care of. Because what I've found is when I am stressed or not taking care of myself, I'm not showing up 100% for my client. And if I want a successful coaching business, I got to show up 100%, totally clear, well rested, well hydrated, ready to go, ready to listen, versus being sluggish or being tired or thinking about other jobs that you want to do or whatever that looks like. So I think for that is it's coaching saved my life, allowing me to see that I had to start taking care of myself versus everyone else. So I now know that that's a critical part to me showing up as a coach, is to make sure that I am the best that I can possibly be. Rested, mindfulness, doing some yoga, doing some TRE, doing breath work, anything like that just prior to coaching. It's a game changer for how you show up as a coach, for sure.
So many good tips in there. I think a lot of us do many of those things, but the habit, the ritual, the knowing that when we take those success habits away, it has a downstream impact to our coaching. Coaching is so all encompassing, to give your full presence to someone and coach the beautiful soul across from you, as I say. It takes a lot of energy, and you want to give your best energy. So that's wonderful, Arjuna. So I'm going to go over to our speed round, and then we're going to turn it over to any questions that folks have. So just if you can answer these questions with just a sentence or a word or two. True or false, is the coaching profession saturated right now? Oh, sorry, you say that again?
False.
There you go. Okay.
False. Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
I can
good.
expand on that, but yeah, false. Yes.
Okay. I think the mic didn't pick it up. What do you wish every coach knew about starting a business?
It's not going to be as easy as you might think. You have to put in the hard work. It's not going to be quite as easy as you think.
Okay. Okay. What's one thing a coach would need to be disciplined about?
Self-care.
Mm-hmm. What words of wisdom do you have for the next generation of coaches?
I think the thing that pops in my mind is to be trauma aware, trauma informed. I think everyone moving forward in all the industries should be trauma informed, trauma aware, because majority of our clients are going to have some sort of trauma that we should know how to navigate through, not become counselors or therapists, but just to navigate when that time does come.
Mm-hmm. And what's next for you, Arjuna? What are you up to now?
Oof, lots of things. Lots of speaking, lots of workshops. I got a second revision of my book coming out in a couple of weeks. I got a couple other books in the works. Got some ebooks that are coming out. Got a new podcast that's coming out in the new year, which is going to be called Leading Self. So I'll be doing two podcasts, but the Leading Self is for anyone who wants to be a better person, a better human. So it's all about leading self. So very kind of holistic approach to leadership. And it's not for the fire service or anything like that. It's open to anybody who wants to listen and get some nuggets from. So lots on the go. I'm testing lots of things and playing lots of things as well. So
Yes, but you're honing into your unique way of doing it. Your presence, your energy, your authenticness. It comes through in this interview. It comes through in everything that you do of putting your real story, being transparent to your story, putting that out there. So thank you for that. What wow, what a great what a great we just drank by the fire hose, literally, with Arjuna. And I want to ask anyone who's on the call, if you have any questions for Arjuna, go ahead and come off mute and ask your question today.
I have a question. Because you've mentioned several times about being involved in speaking and a bit in workshops. So if a coach is interested in getting started in speaking, what would you recommend as how they get started?
For me, what sparked it was the book. So writing a book, and that's not the end all answer, but that's what kind of sparked it for me was a book got out there, and all of a sudden I got speaking requests from across North America. So publishing a book is fairly easy these days of being self-publishing. That's definitely a way you can get your name out there fairly fast. But I think people have to know you. So it's either podcasting, social media, video, even just social media with an update of who you are, what you're doing today, some background images, just getting people to know you as a coach versus your business. Because really you are your business. You're not necessarily like Silver Arrow is my company, but I am really who they're hiring. It's not Silver Arrow. So to get workshops, to get speaking engagements, that kind of thing, is people got to know you. And so the best way to do that is just get your name out there as much as you can. Social media, blogs are easy to do these days. There's AI out there that can assist you to get the ball rolling, to get content, kind of inspiration and ideas. So really there's no excuse if you want to do it. There's no excuse not to put the content out. There's so many different ways to put content out now. It doesn't have to even show your face. But yeah, if you want to do speaking, I think people got to know who you are as a person. But also try, like I've done lots of free conferences where I don't get paid. I get paid for my travel. I get paid for my hotel. But the speaking engagement is free. And then once again, that kind of starts the ball. And like somebody in the audience is going to, oh, I want to bring you to my organization. And can you do a workshop for us? Yeah. Like the last one I did in June, the last conference I did in June, I probably a good dozen pipeline contacts out of that want to hire me in the new year to do workshops. And that took a couple days out of my schedule, didn't cost me anything because the hotel and travel was paid for. So it was just my time, but that time paid 10x because I got those clients who are going to now hire me for a full day or a 2-day workshop or a keynote or something like that down the road. So.
Okay. So follow-up question then.
Sure.
Because if you say the key to getting started with the speaking was the book and being known, what do you think you did right with promoting your book when it was written?
Social media. That was definitely my number one marketing tool. And then I got on a lot of podcasts as a guest. So as a guest, that's kind of where it started to snowball. Was being a guest on people's who already had an audience, who already had a following, that I was going to now kind of ride their curtail of their success. And now their audience now knows about my book. And it just kind of steamrolled from there.
Cool. You've given me about 1,000 ideas there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And feel free to reach out if you want to ask any more questions for sure.
Thank you.
I got a question. Building relationships. You mentioned that a few times. And I would say that's something that personally I'm good at. But when it comes to doing it with my business hat on, it makes me, that salesy piece comes through. So I'm just wondering if you have any advice on, like, for example, I just reached out to someone who runs this organization and I've booked a discovery call. And I was very upfront even though I'm not looking to become a client, I'm really just want to meet you. It was a little bit forward and aggressive, but I'm hoping it's going to be fine. But I'm just wondering, like, yeah, what are some tips for approaching that conversation that would, yeah, what are some tips?
I think starting off on the negative side is when I tried to approach people cold turkey, like just kind of out of the blue, cold call, my response was not great. So when I started to build that relationship, that conversation about money, money mindset, fees, coaching fees, everything like that was so much easier once I had that relationship built. It didn't actually feel salesy. It didn't feel like I was being pushy because they kind of knew my backstory. They knew that it was going to cost money. They knew it was going to be an expense and an investment in themselves. Is kind of how I usually put it. It's not an expense. It's an investment. And once I built that relationship, and the more and more you do it, so it's been a couple of years of doing this, of repeating my kind of elevator speech slash what I do and how much I charge, it gets easier over time for sure. And so much easier once you have that relationship built that it doesn't feel sticky, it doesn't feel icky, it feels natural to me. So I don't know if there's like a singular kind of trick or tool that I used. It was just once we built that relationship, that we trusted each other, we knew each other, that conversation was easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I was thinking of it in terms of not necessarily as a future client, but just building a relationship in terms of networking and what to then offer. Like, I don't know what I feel like my goals then for the conversation are wishy-washy. And that's when I become, unsure of myself. So I guess maybe a better question is, what is a realistic goal to set for a conversation like that? What's going to not turn them off?
Well, giving away stuff for free is not a turnoff.
Mm.
So your time could be a gift, Kate, some kind of down the road, some sort of they want to give back to you somehow.
Okay.
So I think that would be one, but also providing some.
Sorry, Arjuna, we're getting a little bit of
something
lag
that supports
on
them.
your
Sorry?
audio there. So sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Are you back? Yeah. Yeah. So giving away anything that provides them some actual value in life. So not some, just something you cut and paste, but something that actually provides value to them. They're going to start looking at you as that go-to person, that knowledge expert in whatever field you're coaching in. So giving them, like, I truly feel like I've become ambassadors for different organizations, and I'm just there to toot their horn. But I know that promoting their business, promoting their whatever they're doing is going to benefit me in the long run somehow by opening up a door, a connection. And then once again, is I quite often I'll go on LinkedIn and find somebody that I connect with, and I'll reach out to them and say, hey, it looks like we're in the same business. I'd love to jump on a Zoom call and get to know you a bit better. And I find the Zoom call is much better than an email. And the amount of people that I've connected with over the last couple of years due to reaching out through LinkedIn, doing a Zoom meeting, and now we chat and we've opened up doors, open up businesses. There's a whole bunch of avenues that through LinkedIn, which I think is a good professional platform to use, and then jump on a quick call, jump on a 30-minute call and not do coaching, not talk about business, not talk about your services. Well, you could a little bit, but I think the goal is just to get to know each other and see how you can support them. And that's usually how I kind of finish my session with it. How can I support you, what you're doing?
Yeah.
And right there is like, all right, I'm going to support this guy because he's supporting me so much, right?
Yeah.
And it's not sleazy. It's not dirty. It's just being, I'm here to support you. And if you reciprocate that, that's awesome. But that's not my goal. My goal is to build network and build relationships and then because that person might know somebody that actually is a really good connection for me versus that actual person.
Yeah.
And it opens up the doors when you do it on Zoom and LinkedIn. Now you're talking to people across the world.
Yeah.
Did that help? Or
that's really helpful. Yeah, it's sort of in what I was thinking because I was taking notes as you were speaking before, and so yeah, I thought about using that time to just introduce myself, but also ask them questions about what they do, and it's just validating to hear that that's meaningful time spent and a worthwhile goal to have in that kind of conversation. So thanks.
it's funny you say that, because that's actually how I felt when I first started was, is this worthwhile? Am I wasting my time networking with all these people, not creating any income whatsoever? Am I spending my time in the wrong space? And it took coaching, it took time, introspection, and some doors to open up where I was like, okay, yeah, no, this is definitely where, and in the coaching industry, I think that's the number one thing to do is relationships and connections. But I didn't really know that at first. Like, just like you're saying right there, is like, am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
And it took me time and coaching to get through that and go, oh yeah, these are well worth my time. Like my time, 30 minutes to connect with somebody is going to open up so many doors.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great questions, you guys. Any other last questions? We've got about 5 minutes to go with Arjuna today.
Another question, what allows you to take these risks that you take and different, the creativity and stuff that you express?
That's a good question. I would say limited risk taker prior to, I honestly think my burnout was a pivotal point in my life to transform who I am as a person. It allowed me to actually really truly know who I am. And that kind of correlated really with Royal Roads as well. Because when I was doing the program, you spend like months on yourself, lots of introspection, lots of self looking of who you are as a person. And I was doing that while I was recovering from my burnout at the same time. So those two together just kind of, in essence, kind of transformed me as a person. And my vulnerability, like I consider vulnerability a superpower. If you can be vulnerable and open and authentic, it is a superpower. And I didn't have that before. So in that transition of really knowing who I am as a person allowed me to say, I don't really care. I'm just going to put it out there. Like the stories in my book are not, people are like, wow, you put that in writing? Okay, that's good, cool. I'm like, yeah, why not? I'm helping people because they're reading it and going, that's me. That's me for sure. So I just, for some reason, I see no other reason to be unauthentic or not myself showing up every day. And that's just allowed me to take those risks now that I didn't before. And I think it's just more comfortable in my own skin, more comfortable with who I am as a person, allowing me to say, hey, I'll throw it out there, see what happens. And if it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick. And I truly think that the coaching business, when you're first starting out, you're going to have to play with a lot of different things and see what sticks, see what doesn't work, what works for you. I changed my niche about a year into it. I was like, all right, focused right on fire chiefs. No, I'm going to change that. Still a pretty narrow niche, but it's not exactly how I planned it originally. And then you're going to look at different things. Maybe it's like changing up how you coach or what you look into. Like I really think the trauma informed part is a big part for us moving forward. And so I've taken some risks about saying that's what I do is trauma informed coaching. And the 23-minute coaching, just seeing what happens, right? Because people, honestly, they're going to forget about it in a month. So if there's any embarrassment around putting something out there and it didn't work, it fail forward, and they're going to forget about it. You're going to move on and know that didn't work at that time anyways. So it's a mindset, risk taking, but just know that probably the risk that you're taking is worthwhile, because if you succeed, awesome. If you fail, you're going to fail forward and learn from that. So it's a tool for you to move forward in. Awesome. Not an easy thing to just say, hey, this is how you combat risk. But that's
Well,
what
it's a
worked for
very,
me. And I really think it was a lot of self-reflection
yeah.
that really helped. Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize it's a
Sorry, go ahead.
personal question, so I appreciate you sharing your take on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, and what stands out for me is it's not risky if it feels good to you. It's not risky if it's true to you. So, and I think that's definitely the space that I've known Arjuna to work from and really show his big heart in everything that he does. We are about out of time, and I want to make sure that you guys know how to get a hold of Arjuna. So I'm going to share this really quickly. If you'd like to get a hold of Arjuna, you can find him at silverarrowco.com. Of course, on LinkedIn, check out his book, Burnt Around the Edges, Burnout Prevention and Resilience Coaching for High Performers. There it is. I want to thank you so much, Arjuna, for sharing your story today. This has been just so much fun. There's been so much that you can share. I mean, we clearly could go on for hours here, but I want to thank you so much for being with us and sharing your time. Let Arjuna know what part of his story resonated with you. I'm sure he'd love to hear that. Thank you, Arjuna.
An honor, and thank you for all your guidance you've given me as well. And it's great to connect with Lori and see around there, actually.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Look for the next Coach Showcase. Maybe it will be for you. We'll see you again soon. All right. Take care.